The new Guild Wars 2 Elite specs were very exciting at the start. Their concepts were very cool and everybody was just super hyped to try them out on the beta. That being said, there seems to be a lot of the community sentiment being kind of negative compared to other Elite specs. I mean, look at this post, guys. I feel like the Warrior community and Revenant are reaching the point of a civil war. Jesus Christ. And even though I really like them and I think they're very high quality, I think it's important to note that, well, Elite spec in the past haven't been the best either. And in my opinion, these are very high quality, just like the very good old ones. So in this video, we're gonna go through all of the Elite specs in Guild Wars 2 and put them in their tiers to see how do they compare to each other, particularly the new ones versus the old ones. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Go to my Ko-Fi if you want to support my content. Go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning. Let's get into it. The way I want to do this is I want to go through each class. This way we can actually compare the new specs with the old specs from the same place, from the same class. As sometimes different specializations, different professions have core mechanics that really carry a lot of the weight from each of the Elite specs. For example, Elementalist will always be super complex just because of the 4 attunements, compared to something like Warrior that doesn't really have a lot. So I think it is very important to compare them to each other. That being said, I will compare them in between professions at the end, but you know, that will be when we have the entire thing done. The type of tier list we want to do here is about fun and design. I'm not gonna care about it being overpowered, it not being overpowered, that is irrelevant. We want to talk about how well designed and fun and how their ideas in terms of roleplay in terms of what the Elite spec should be, like Bladestorm being a samurai, compares to what the actual execution is inside of the game. Also important that we will not be considering weapons. Weapons are no longer part of the class identity after they made it so everybody can use any sort of weapon irregardless of the specialization you're using. So yeah, just because Great Sword on Reaper is good or Hammer on Catalyst is good doesn't really mean that we should take that into account into what those particular specs are right now. So let's first start with Necromancer. Is the first one here. So let's go for the first one, Reaper. Reaper, I think, deserves S+. I'm sorry, S. I don't know why I said S+. S. The way that the core of Necromancer got upgraded by getting the Reaper Shroud with this huge scythe that can be swung and have every one of these abilities, I think is super cool. The mechanic of the shouts as well, super awesome idea here, and really gives me that vibe of being a Reaper that is gonna grab the life force from you and just shout it out of your body. All the utilities are pretty cool because of this. Nothing can save you with unblockable, suffer transferring conditions, chilled to the bone, just chilling everything around you because you are death. And of course, being able to have this cool traits that all go around chilled about being death, a very cold death that can kill you by just doing power damage to you, or instead doing chill that can be transformed into bleeding to do damage, I think is super cool. I personally think it's very close to something like S+, but even though its theme is very well done, I don't think it actually has the complexity that I personally would want in an S+ tier. I not only want the fantasy of it to work, but I also want a lot more, you know, effort into it. Yeah, the chill thing is cool. Yeah, the way that life force works is cool, but it's just better core Necromancer, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I want a bit more there than just this, personally. I understand if you go ahead, if I get a dislike because of the first take though. Next is gonna be Scourge. Now Scourge, I think I have to put it on A. The whole idea of Scourge being this desert walking death that steals the life force in terms of shrouds, in terms of like almost like sand, I think it's super cool, right? Like this whole like Death Knight of the desert is very cool. The animations are pretty awesome as well, and it's been super powerful for a long time, but I'm not sure if it's as good as something like Reaper, especially considering how insanely overpowered and essentially broken it has been throughout its years. The design is okay, but it's just, you know, hey, circles on the floor that you just spam at the same time all the time in the spot that you want. There's nothing really interesting here. I think there should be something more interesting than just circles that you just stack together. If it actually ended up working with more something like this, where you want to place them in different places and not just all the time in the same spot and just spam all the buttons at the same time, I think it would be S or even S+, but realistically it's just not that interesting. Even the old transfusion wasn't really from Scourge, it was from core Necromancer. And I don't find Barrier, especially now, as this much of an interesting mechanic. I will definitely say that I really like the utility of it and I like playing it, but I think something like Reaper achieves what it's supposed to achieve in a more interesting way, even though it's more simple, but at the same time it's better. The next one is going to be Harbinger, and for Harbinger I need to give it A as well. Very good, but definitely not as good as Reaper. Now don't get me wrong, the whole idea of being this plague doctor of sorts that has the life force, the death life force in their vials that they throw is very, very cool. The Harbinger Shroud is also very cool with a lot of mobility, kind of like a ninja, kind of monk type of Deathbringer. Is very, very cool. The animations are awesome as well, but the gameplay doesn't end up being that interesting, I don't think. The potions are kind of boring, hard to see in PvP and World vs. World, and not that interesting in PvE. Even though the shot is super fun, that is the only part that is very much fun in Harbinger, in my opinion. The traits don't really have anything interesting, and the whole Blight mechanic, even though it's kind of fun in World vs. World and PvP, it's not that interesting. Passive boons while also getting more heal instead of just having a second health bar, it's okay, but I found the Reaper Shroud more interesting, and even something like the Scourge Shroud a bit more interesting. Now, is it better than Scourge? I don't know. I think they're very similar. I'm not sure if I could put one over the other. Just because of PvP and World vs. World, I think I would say that Harbinger is better. Yeah, you know what? Let's put Harbinger, because like the Scourge just makes World vs. World and PvP super unfun to play. Maybe World vs. World not as much, especially in Surging, but definitely PvP and roaming. So I think Harbinger is just a bit more interesting. Even in PvE, you are, you know, doing a lot of damage, but you have very low amount of health. Because you're in your Shroud, we have less, you know, more damage reduction. It's more interesting. I feel like it's more interesting than Scourge. But this leads us to the next one. Where do we put Ritualist here? I think we have to put it on A as well, but at the top, above Harbinger and Scourge. I think Harbinger, honestly, is way, way more interesting than the other ones. You have the weapon spells that you can share to your allies. If you trade on it, you can make it even better for them. You can play heal, you can play DPS, and they're all interesting. Well, they will be interesting once they actually make it so you can interact with your Shroud minions outside of Shroud. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna do this, otherwise heal doesn't really work. And even if it doesn't, like if they don't do that, you still have enough time to actually react while giving quickness. If you just go into Shroud, just press one button right with your Shroud to give quickness and use the other ones reactively. Very interactive, very, very fun. The traits are actually very interesting as well. You can really change the way that you play with this, and it's just a more interesting gameplay that something like Scourge and Harbinger give, I think. It just feels more developed. That being said, there is one issue. I don't think you really get the idea of actually being a Minionmancer with this build, with this spec. Sure, you have your summons, you have at the least 2 right now, and you might actually get more after, and you also have your spirits that do damage for you and you can make them explode to give different utility, but it doesn't really feel like you're controlling minions. It just feels like they're automatically going there, and maybe this is just something that cannot really work in Guild Wars 2, but I don't know, it doesn't really give me the feel that I'm a Minionmancer at all, or that I'm a Ritualist in this manner. I do think that it's missing that. Something that Harbinger and Scourge do give me, this idea that I am a Desert Plague Doctor or something, the fact that I am a Monk Harbinger. Even though those mechanics are not that interesting, they do give me that feel. And Reaper gets everything. He gets the gameplay and he gets the roleplay. So I think Reaper has to be big and bigger than this other 3, and Ritualist, Harbinger, and Scourge can be. Reaper does give me the idea of being this slow walker of death that it's almost like the Lich King World of Warcraft. He's slowly crawling to you, and if he gets to you, he's gonna freeze you into place and just cut your head with a scythe. And, you know, these ones are almost there, but not quite. Now let's go next for Revenant. The Revenant is gonna be very interesting because I don't really think that Revenant is... I don't think it really has a lot of good specs. First, Herald. I do think that Herald is pretty okay. I'm actually gonna put it above this other two. The whole point of Herald is being able to upkeep your energy. Just be thinking about, okay, I have a lot of energy that I'm using right here. How much do I want to keep it up compared to using it so I don't have to lose my energy and use my weapon attacks? This whole fantasy, I think, is very, very well done. And it pairs perfectly with what you can do in the other stances. I think this whole idea is so cool and so perfectly done in something like Herald. You're giving a lot of boons, but hey, do I want to keep giving those boons, or do I want to activate the facet and use it for something else? Yes, it's a little bit spammy right now, specifically in PvE, but if you play this in PvP or War vs. World, this can be one of the most fun specs and definitely the best design specs in the entire game. You also have multiple builds. You have the power build versus the combi build in PvE, and both of them being super different in terms of how they upkeep their energy. It's so awesome. And you can go for easy peasy power herald or hard with very hard to upkeep your energy to make it work combi herald. You have heal, you have DPS, you have con, you have power, a lot of stuff. So honestly, I think A is a perfect spot. Now, I'm not gonna put it on S because it's just, you know, it's an interesting type of gameplay, but realistically it's very part of core Revenant. I don't think there's really that much here to be able to say, oh, it changed so much compared to core Revenant. It's good Revenant, it's fun, but S, that'll be a bit too much. So I think A is a good place to put it. Now for the next one, Renegade. Renegade is gonna have to be our first B, sadly. Now, the idea of Renegade is not bad. Very similarly to something like Ritualist, you're summoning spirits that do things for you. And that is a pretty cool idea, especially signifying each of the legends that they're summoning. It's very cool. But sadly, these don't really do anything. They're big circles that do different effects, but they're just circles, just like Scourge. It ends up being pretty boring. Even now that you have your special effects that get enhanced, for example, let's say that I might use this attack, my next one will be enhanced doing a different type of effect. That is a pretty cool addition to what Renegade used to be. But realistically, you don't really care about this too much. You kind of just want to spam them all the time, particularly in PvP. In PvE. In PvP, it's a little bit different, but it also ends up being just circle cancer. Like, look at all this. How are you supposed to play against this? It's just not very fun. The F2, F3, and F4 are also not very fun either. There's just not that much happening here to give it something more than B. Even though I really like playing this spec. The truth is that the design of Renegade is just not that interesting in Condi or in DP or in Power. In Condi it's a little bit better, but that's about it. Now Vindicator, I'm even gonna say that it's even worse. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I like the idea of Vindicator, of being this tad with a greatsword that is destroying everything around you. But greatsword was the main cool thing about Vindicator. Now that it's no longer there and everybody can use it, it just has a very boring and just kind of useless alliance stance. Like, I remember back in the day, the alliance stance ended up being worse than just going Shiro and Dwarf at the same time on Vindicator. That should tell you something. In reality, the design of this utility of the Legendary Alliance stance is just kind of boring. In PvE, you wanna spam them all very fast to just do as much damage, and in PvP and War vs. World, you wanna spam them all in order to do a lot of damage and heal. Now, obviously, in PvP, it's going to be way harder because you want to use them in the correct spot, in the correct moment, but it's super spammy. You still want to press all the buttons. And you have to go in between two alliance tactics as well. That honestly is kind of clunky to switch in between both of them. The idea is cool, but it's just not well implemented. And the dodge mechanic, yeah, in theory, it's kind of cool, and it looks cool, but I don't think it really does anything for War vs. World or PvP or PvE. Maybe it's just that I don't really like spammy specs like this, but realistically, it doesn't have that much interesting things going on for them. And I can't really give it anything else than this. And here you have it. This first three on A, B, and C. Not the best for Revenant right here. And it definitely didn't get better because Conduit is D. I think I don't have to really convince you that Conduit is probably the worst spec made for this entire new Elite spec set. People have absolutely been shitting on it in the forums, in Reddit, everywhere. In my comments a lot too. And honestly, I don't blame them. The traits are boring. They don't really change too much how you play the spec. The whole idea of Rasa transforming your utilities and using them depending on the one you have on the other side, on the secondary legend, is a cool idea, but it doesn't work at all. Just giving this to one utility and that's it, that's the entire thing about this new Elite spec, and giving you passive attributes on F2 that you have to press over and over again, that's not good gameplay. I'm sorry, it's just not interesting, it's not cool, and you barely use the scythe from Rasa anyways. This could be very cool, it could, but right now it isn't, and I really think that Conduit could end up being the best Elite spec for Revenant in terms of design, and I think it could become to an S. An S plus, that would be a lot, but definitely an S. That being said, right now it's not there, and I'm really scared of it not going there at any point ever. Now let's go for another one. Let's go for Warrior, and let's start with obviously Berserker. And Berserker, guys, it's an S. Just like Reaper, it transforms what Warrior was in core into the maximum version of it, making it so every one of your adrenaline attacks becomes super big this time, everyone having a different cool effect with a different secondary idea on it, like Decapitator just having no cooldown and just completely blasting over and over again. It's just super cool. And the fact you have to press them as fast as possible, because otherwise, guess what? Your Berserker stance gets, disappeared. You lose it because you are not attacking fast enough, because you're a Berserker and you're full of rage. It's super cool. It's the whole fantasy of being a warrior, just completely well done, completely perfectly done, and I don't really know how you could have done this better. And in some ways, yeah, I'm saying that it's not S plus because it's too simple, but it should be too simple. This is the point, for it to be intense, fun, just explode. I love it. I love it, love it. In some way, maybe I could say that the utility is kind of boring, and it's like, oh, well, you have to press it in order to keep doing damage. Like, I don't like that type of design, but then again, it's Berserker. It's supposed to be this. It's supposed to be selfish. To just do insane amount of damage irregardless of your utility. To sacrifice your utility for the damage. Well, also, look, it still has some utility. I think S is the perfect place to put it on. And I would understand if someone puts it on S plus as well. Now for the next ones, things get a little bit more complicated. Spellbreaker, honestly, I'm gonna have to give it to B. I'm sorry, but the idea of being a Spellbreaker, I don't think it's very well realized. You're supposed to have a lot of magic to your side, or at least transform the magic from your enemies into something for you. But the utilities are very, very boring. The dagger is kind of fun, but then again, we can't really think about that too much, because that's no longer tied to the Elite spec. Full counter is a cool idea, but has it ever been realized correctly? You never use F2 in PvE, and in PvP and Warver's World, it can be super annoying to play against. It's not really a counter, it's just an annoyance. Whenever you full counter something, it doesn't feel like you are being skillful. It feels like you got lucky. And that's not how this thing should look or feel like. In PvE, it's a little bit more interesting because you have the whole like, do as much C to do more damage, which I think is kind of cool, but not too cool. You don't even use the utility because all the utility is super boring in PvP and Warver's World. In PvE, this is like the worst utility ever made in any spec in Guild Wars 2, honestly. It's just blah. And I get it, it's supposed to be for Warver's World, but even in Warver's World, you use break enhancement and that's it? No, sorry. The traits are not super interesting either. It's just not a very well developed spec. And I say this as being a Spellbreaker main sometimes in PvP and Warver's World. I like the idea of it, I like playing it, but objectively it's just not that good. Next, Bladesworn. And this one is an interesting one. The whole idea of being a samurai like this and using your big guns blade to just destroy your enemies, charging your, well, load, your charges for your weapon to destroy them, to just charge the Dragon Slash and explode everything, is very, very cool. And in some ways, it's been made well done. There's a reason there's a reason why Blade Slot, what is happening to me today? There is a reason why Bladesworn has been in the top of the charts for a long time, because doing like, I don't know, 257k DPS in one go, it feels pretty cool and it's pretty powerful. You can absolutely break bosses with this ability, and that's pretty awesome. That being said, the gameplay of it is just not very good. The fact that your Gunblade is super, like, what's the word, optional, and you never actually use it, you spam it for some reason, it kind of sucks. Yeah, it's cool that your utility lets you just absolutely make your Gunslade, your Dragon Trigger, insanely powerful, is cool, but realistically, it shouldn't be the whole thing. It shouldn't be a Dragon Slash simulator. It should also use your Gunblade to do damage with it. And the Gunblade just feels kind of clunky, weird, and doesn't work at all. And it has never worked for this spec. It doesn't also help that in PvP and Warp's World, this is unusable. You have your 3 triggers, but honestly, you only use the first one. You almost never use this one because you bug out and go into different walls or whatever. And your 3 is a little bit cool, this little slash, but only whenever you need it because you're far away from your enemy. It's okay design, but it just doesn't really work out in practice. Bladesworn should be an S, but realistically, it's just with Spellbreaker right here. It has one thing that carries it, and everything else just brings it down. Maybe one day the design of this will be better, but right now it's just not the case. And this brings us to Paragon. And sadly, Paragon, it also has to be on B right now. Finally, Paragon was gonna be the new elite spec that brings heal into Warrior. But did that happen? Did we get our wings, or did we get our wings just for a little second, and all the utility that Warrior usually is lacking is still lacking? Yeah, that's kind of what happened. Sadly, it's just not a very good spec right now. The design, the idea of it is very good, but it feels very clunky. Using your chants doesn't really work out too well. You have to spam them in a way that doesn't feel good. You're losing adrenaline all the time. You have cooldowns on your chants, which kind of sucks, so you're already wasting your adrenaline, so what's even the point? Your echoes, even though a cool mechanic, don't really work out very well because they're very, very weak, and you don't even get your wings all the time. Like, what's up with that? In theory, Paragon could be an S+, absolutely. And I'm sure that once they fix it, they might actually get there. But right now, this is just a B. Now, I'm gonna be generous, and I do think the design of it already is better than Spellbreaker and Bladesworn. I think I'm gonna get it above it, even though it's not very powerful. I think it's way more interesting than anything here, so we're gonna put it at the top here compared to other ones, but definitely not as good as something like Berserker that, yeah, sure, is more simple than Paragon, but it plays better, it feels better, it is better. Now let's go for our first S+. Sorry, first, no, not first S. Well, we'll get to S+ very soon, but first of all, let's go for Ellie. Ellie with Tempest. Tempest, guys, just like Reaper, Berserker, is just perfect spec for what it does. It deserves S. The idea of having your overloads and being able to use shouts in the middle of it, of course, because you can just do it instantly while your overload is going, is super, super cool. Bringing this idea of being this storm that, sure, you would usually associate with air, and you can definitely use it this way, but at the same time, you can transform it into a bigger version of every one of these attunements. It's super cool. The traits are super interesting as well, giving us a little bit more of that cool interaction with auras, right? Wanting to use more combo fields because of this. Super cool core Ellie idea. You have a heal version of this, you have a DPS version, an alacrity DPS version of it. Everything's super cool. It's easy to understand. You have an overload, you can interrupt them while they're doing it in PvP and in War's World. They don't have stability. The utility is great. Even though they're shouts, they still give you different auras. They're super powerful, they're fun to use, and I really like how you bring Scepter usually on Ellie to be able to use their instant cast while you're doing your overloads. It just does what it does very well. As I said before, I don't think I'm gonna give it to S+ because it's kind of simple, but that's the thing about HOT specs. They're just simple, and that's okay because they have an idea of what they want to do, and they do it, and that's it. They don't overcomplicate things. They go for the thing that they want to do, and they achieve it. Now let's go for the next one, Weaver. And this is our first S+. Boom. How could I not? The idea of grabbing two elements and forging them into one thing, giving new abilities for every one of the weapons and every combination of every element with each other is super cool. So complex, so interesting, so complicated, but simple at the same time. It's just not that hard to understand, but at the same time it has a lot of complexity in the way that build crafting is made. Which weapon do you pick? Which elements do we... Which elements do we pick? The utility is fine, not super cool, but I really like the fact that depending on the attunement you have, you get different effects. For example, an Unravel, an Impermanent Stance as well. And then you have Weave Self that gives you a bonus effect from damage depending on whether you actually get all of your attunements before the time is done, and then you get a special ability, boom, that you can use to use all of them at the same time and do a lot of damage and some CC. It's just a DPS spec, but it works, and it works well. Of course, the traits just change things to give you some more vitality, more defense, more offense, more movement speed, and the more buttons you press, the better, because you probably are gonna bring your Signal of Restoration, because you already have your Elemental Refreshment, grant better to yourself when using a dual attack skill. So the more buttons you press, the better. It reminds me of the simplicity of something like Berserker, the intensity of it, while also having complexity, because it is Elementalist. It is essentially Elementalist Berserker. And how can I not put it in S+, when he has all this cool gameplay, fun, complexity, but also simplicity of understanding? Yes, S+, absolutely. Now, for Catalyst, things change a little bit, because Catalyst, it's not that good. Catalyst used to be very fun, because it had Hammer, and the whole idea of the Elite spec was about these 4 elements that you have on your little, orbs running around with you. But now this is no longer the case, because, well, it doesn't have the Hammer. It's just an F5. That's it. Wow, I'm just pressing buttons and pressing F5 from time to time. This is so fun, and you get a little circle there that signifies that I pressed the F5. Wow, that's cool, I guess. Now, I do think there's a little bit to be said about this spec, because it's like, hey, you have your circle of boons with your Jade Sphere that you can combo into something else, and you can get a benefit from these combos. And you do have Elemental Epitome. Hey, gives you an aura when you get a combo, when you use this ability from Catalyst, and that is kind of cool. But it's not enough. Just auras? You already got that in something like Tempest. Why repeat this? If you want me to actually go for this, make the whole thing about combos, the entire spec. That's what this should be. Not this just like, oh, a little bit of combo here because we're already giving it to you. No, give me more if you want me to put this something interesting. The traits are not very interesting otherwise. And the utility is not very interesting either. I mean, it's kind of nice that you have to press them in the moment that you are inside of this attunements, but like, Elemental Celerity, you just get damage cooldown reduction when you use the Elite. I mean, it's kind of fun to get cooldown reduction, as we're gonna see next. Only pressing one button every 90 seconds. So no, I have to put this on C. It's just not that good. It's not that interesting. It's just, well, worse Evoker. And that's funny because the next one is gonna be Evoker. But it cannot go too high up here. Even though I really like playing it, compared to the Elite specs, it can't be that high. The idea of Evoker is awesome. Finding up to one familiar to use that familiar and that attunement the most. You get cooldown reduction from going back into that attunement. You get an F5 that represents that attunement that you use every few attacks to do more damage, and you get more charges the more you're in that attunement as well. The idea is super cool. I absolutely love it. I absolutely love the familiars, and I really like the single attunement thing, giving you more cooldown reduction on your weapons when you use your special attack. Everything around it, honestly, is super awesome. But it's just better Catalyst. Which is funny because Catalyst is just better Coralie. Realistically, pressing F5 every few seconds when you get your stacks or your energy, is that different from a Catalyst? Yes, the idea is a bit different because in Catalyst you want to switch in between different attunements all the time, but it's too similar, it's too close. You need to give Evoker something else to differentiate itself. Give it so your cooldown reduction of your weapons while you're out of your single attunement is better when you go back to your normal attunement, something like that. Give it something more special whenever you use AR5 in your single attunement. Give it something that makes you feel, damn, I'm playing something completely different than Catalyst, even if it's kind of similar. You will always repeat yourself a little bit, but it has to feel different. Give me something to feel that difference. Right now, even if Evoker is one of the most fun specs for me to play, I cannot put it more than B because it just doesn't differentiate itself so enough from Catalyst. It's not that interesting, and it really needs a lot more work to make it into higher in the tier list. And now that I have gotten your sympathy for saying that Evoker is not that good, because I know a lot of people hate Evoker, let's make you hate me again. Let's go for Guardian. First of all, Drown Hunter. Drown Hunter, B as well. Not super interesting. Sure, the whole idea of having your virtues upgraded just like this, again, super cool. I really like this ones. I really like the F1 and how it makes you do more damage as well. Because of the trait Big Game Hunter, you almost want to do all of your damage in this duration. The problem is that the duration is like pretty big. You know, you only have 4 seconds of not having this buff. So like what's even... Oh, actually that's not true. No, that is true. You have this effect for such a long time. So the whole idea of being a bursty Drown Hunter with your traps doesn't really matter, because you can use your traps multiple times and you can just do damage while, you know, most, like 90% of the time on this spec. So like, I don't know, doesn't really do anything for me. And even the trap idea is like, okay, you have your traps, that's awesome, but like, this is the gameplay of every Drown Hunter in PvP, PvP, War's World. Put all the traps, they explode, they one-shot something. That's the gameplay. That's supposed to be fun. You put them all at the same spot every time? Come on. Sure, maybe in War's World and PvP, sometimes you want to put another one in another spot, but most of the time, it just doesn't end up being very fun. The idea makes sense, but the execution, I'm gonna have to put it right here on B, sadly, because of this. Now, Firebrand, S+. Come on, a holy scholar that uses its books to cast different type of magic? Are you kidding me? This is awesome. All the animations are awesome. The traits are awesome. The fact you have 3 books they use depending on the situation. The utility is great. Oh my god. Yeah, sure, the mantras are a little bit small. I get it. But the idea is cool. Yeah, sure, it's a little bit clunky in this regard. It's hard to use them on people. But like, I don't care. It looks awesome. The idea is awesome. Transforming the virtues into the books is great. The charts are awesome too. There's just nothing. This is like one of the... It might be the best spec ever made. I don't know. Like, it's just too cool. And you can even change the way that you interact with these books in different ways. You can make it so you get more additional pages, or give quickness, or the final charge gets slow on your allies but give you some pages. Like, I don't know. All this is so cool. Some of them give you some bonuses as well if you use different types of tomes. This is so... I don't know what to say, guys. And maybe it's not as strong as it used to be, but that doesn't mean it's not great and very fun. Next, Willbender. And Willbender, not S+, but S. Very good too. The whole idea of transforming the Guardian and its virtues to instead like this monk slash ninja fighter with their hands idea is super cool. More mobility, more punches. It's great. It's a very, very cool idea and very well executed. Like, look at this animation on this kick too. Like, come on, this is awesome. I will agree that sometimes it can feel a little bit clunky to use some of the virtues. Sometimes the animations are not perfect. And then let's not talk about a lack Willbender either, guys. That doesn't work. Well, the entire idea of all this whole thing is just very, very well done. It's perfect. It's not too much that I can actually go against. Even Reverse of Fortune, this heal that counteracts, is kind of like what Full Counter should actually be like. Your virtues giving you different utilities as well. And the fact that now on PvE, whenever you actually use your attacks, you actually get, well, after your virtues, you actually get a cooldown reduction of them the more hits you get. Like, look at that. It can be super fun. I really just love blasting in here and doing a lot of damage to get my cooldowns as low as possible, the fastest I can. And it also works for this, like, fast-paced warrior that Willbender is. So yeah, S I think is a correct place to put it. Not perfect. Cannot be S+ because of this. Maybe not even complex enough, but super cool. Super well done. And now for the one that people are gonna get very mad at me for. Luminary. Luminary deserves S. And actually, I would even put on S+ if it wasn't for these issues. And yes, I understand. The lantern doesn't do anything. There's not really any burning. The light aura trait is cool, but there's not really any cool new ways to actually interact with this new aura trait, because there are not really any weapons for it. I get it. But this is Firebrand 2.0. I'm sorry. Firebrand is already cool, but this is even cooler. The fact that this time, instead of tomes, we have different weapons, and depending on the weapon you pick, you get a different effect, and you can change it, you can change it in the moment. Let's say you want to go for hammer because you're DPS, okay, and you want that burst of damage, but you see, oh my god, we're gonna die if we don't get Aegis right now, and we don't have Aegis. I'm gonna use Raiden Bulwark. Yes, my damage will go down. Yes, I get it, but I'm gonna use it anyways. And now, all my allies also will get a reduced incoming strike damage buff. Great stuff. You decide, do I go for damage, do I go for this? And this is only on DPS. On heal, you have to decide, okay, I'm going for Lumen Staff to heal. That's the normal rotation. Oh shit, but I need to move out. I don't have that much mobility because I'm a healer. I have Staff and, I don't know, Scepter and Shield. I don't know what you play on healer, I don't remember. I don't have mobility. I need to move out. I need to leap, and I will lose that heal buff here. Holy, that's awesome. Oh my god, I need to CC here, and I need more CC. I'm gonna go for Dazzling Hammer, even though I'm a healer, and I should not be going for Hammer. Fuck it, I do it anyways. Awesome. Everything here is so cool. That is even without thinking about the actual stances that are super cool, and a mixture of different effects that we used to have in Core Guardian, like Stand Your Ground that gives stability and a stun break. Now you have Stalwart Stance that instead, it stun breaks, but it gives you some Aegis instead. A little bit of a mix match. Battle Stance, it doesn't stun break, but it gives you stability and it gives you protection, and you heal your allies. This is super cool. A super cool take on what Guardian used to be, and now it's different. Yeah, the traits need a bit more work, I will definitely admit, and I will say that this is the biggest reason why it's not on S+, but otherwise, I would put it on S+. It deserves to be an S+. These little mistakes of not having weapons that actually interact better with Light Aura, that doesn't make it so you actually change weapons with the Guardian. Yeah, this is a mistake, but that doesn't mean that everything else gets thrown to the bathwater. You don't throw the baby with the bathwater. Yes, you don't throw the Luminary with the bathwater, guys. You don't. This is good. And you can clip this. You can save it up. Because whenever they fix this on launch, people are going to be having fun with Luminary. And I'm going to be like, haha, I told you. And you're going to be like, damn, Darren was right. And they're not even going to change that much. They're going to change like one or two things. Maybe they rework maybe they rework the lamp. The lamp should do something. So yeah, this deserves to be on S. It deserves to be on S+. It deserves to be better than Firebrand. It deserves to be the top, best Elite spec ever made. But for now, it has to be S because it has mistakes. And hopefully it achieves that. But right now, it doesn't. Now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 classes left. And I have dentist in 30 minutes. So I kind of have to go. So we're going to cut this out. And I'll be back in a few hours. You don't know that. It's going to be a second. But it will happen. Right now. Boom. All right. I'm home. I got myself a little hat for Chile month. And we're going to do the rest of the live stream with this. I mean, tier list with this. There you go. All right. The next one I want to talk about is Mesmer. Because this one is pretty interesting. And we're going to start with our beautiful spec from Heart of Thorns, Necromancer. And this one, I mean, guys, it's Necromancer. It has to be to go to S+. The entire point of Necromancer is to, well, do something with time. And what is more interesting than do something with time than literally play with it with continuum split? The fact you can come in here, use your clones to do a normal attack in the middle of your continuum split, and then press it again, and then go back in time to whenever your cooldowns weren't there. I mean, that's beautiful. That type of gameplay, that type of mechanic already makes this entire spec so good. It's super simple, but it gets that roleplay of being a Necromancer, of handling time. Yeah, sure, your shatters are kind of okay, right? Like you have just same idea as before, but this time instead they give you certain boons, so they change a little bit. But you also have distortion. The first, well, time you actually got it on your shatters, right? Actually, wait, is that even true? Oh, forget it. Even Core has it. Forget that. Cut it out. The wells are pretty nice too. Nothing like super insane. They're just wells that give you some good boons. But guess what? When you use your continuum split and you put your wells, you can use it twice if you do it correctly. So everything just ties perfectly together. The fact that you get something like improved alacrity that makes your cooldowns, particularly on Chrono, have less cooldown, that's super cool, because obviously it's gonna have less cooldown. You're a Necromancer, you're handling time, you're manipulating it. It makes so much sense. Let's not even talk about the fact that this brought alacrity into the game and was the only place where you can get alacrity and quickness at the same time to your allies. It makes a lot of sense. Quickness makes you quicker, alacrity gets you less cooldown. Of course, everything ties perfectly into the whole chrono thing, into being a Necromancer. Interesting spec, makes sense with the mechanics, very interesting, cool new mechanics, and very original. Of course, it has to go to S+. Next one, we're gonna have obviously Mirage. And Mirage, I have to put it on A. Now, don't get me wrong, Mirage is very cool. The fact that you have this special cloak on your character when you dodge, and all of your clones go and use this to create a special effect, a special attack, just like you would do with something like Thief and their stealth attack. It's just very, very cool. Their utilities are also very awesome, controlling your minions in some different way. For example, Jaunt and every one of the deceptions will create a clone if you have any other clone active, so you have a cool way of getting more clones with this new mechanic of Mirage. And you can even move them with Illusionary Ambush right here, this deception right here. Look at this, boom, we're gonna make them all teleport and attack. Isn't that awesome? The fact that you change the way that Mesmer works, instead of just shattering your clones and actually using them to attack with special new attacks, and you can change them to do different things depending on the trade you take. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That being said, I do have an issue with Mirage. It has been super inconsistent throughout the years. They never been able to just, you know, make it work, make its design work for PvE, for PvP, for Warriors World. It's always or too difficult to use and therefore too overpowered, or too bad, because if you make a bit of a buff, it just completely gets into the stratosphere in terms of damage, in terms of competitiveness. It's just very difficult to do, and it always feels a little bit clunky because of this. I've heard very good things about Mirage right now, and maybe I should put it on S. You know what, I'm gonna put it on S because it really is a very cool concept, a very new concept that I don't think any other game has. So let's put it there, even if it has a lot of issues. I don't think I could put it on S+, just because of how many problems it has and has had throughout the years. But let's leave it there. I think that's a fair place anyways. Next is gonna be Virtuoso, and this one definitely needs to go to A. The entire thing about Virtuoso is to make Mesmer not really Mesmer. Instead of clones, you have this blade, and that's a cool thing. They look awesome, the way that you generate them and you create them, and you want to spend them to your enemies to do a lot of damage to them. You can use them in different ways to do damage, to do condis, to use to stun, or to even use them to protect yourself with distortion. That is a pretty cool effect, and they look beautiful. This whole spec just looks absolutely gorgeous. It reminds me so much of the Bleach Bankai from Byakuya, transforming all of these blades into these pink flowers. It's just the exact same idea. And how could you not see this when these are the abilities that you see? I mean, look at this attack, and look at this one. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. Their traits are okay. They're not super interesting. They're not super cool, but they're okay. But I don't think it has that much to it to be able to put it on S or S+. Yeah, it's a cool concept and he does it well, but that's about it. It's just Mesmer. It's just core Mesmers without them, without the clones. That's the entire thing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing inherently interesting about that. Not like Mirage with this cool new twist. Not like Chrono with the time changes. It's just the same as before. And that's fine, and I enjoy it for what it is, but that's it. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing great. I guess it's kind of nice not having your clones die randomly whenever your enemy dies. But that just should be the case anyways in normal Mesmer, I don't know. And this brings us to Troubadour. And Troubadour, I think it's just better Virtuoso. So high A. The whole idea of Troubadour is to spend all of your clones or nodes to create this special new instruments that are playing behind you, giving you buffs and doing damage or healing your allies, right? This is a pretty cool idea because, well, you have to have all your instruments playing at the same time, and then you crescendo and you make all of them do even more. You have your tails that if you play them with your with the corresponding instrument, it does a second thing. Isn't that cool? So you want to save them up for whenever you actually have your instrument up. It also makes sense because, well, the tale is a troubadour. Is not only singing music, but telling tales. It makes sense that you would have tales about the legends of Tyria. This is exactly what a troubadour should be in a game like this. And I think they really did very well with this. But it has some issues. The instruments are nice, but they're super small. They look like little blobs. Pink blobs that don't really do that much. They do play different songs, but they don't interact with each other. When I think of a musical instrument elite spec, what I think is, hey, depending on the instrument I play and the interaction they have with them, something else will happen. If I play the lute with the flute, maybe something happens. If I play the flute with the harp, something happens. I don't really think about play all them all together all at the same time and min-max them to have them at all times there. And that's the only gameplay you have because you always take Fortissimo because that's the only good one. Now this could be an issue of balance, but even if they fix that, they still don't have any interaction with each other. They just shatters and that's it. It could have so much more potential and it really bothers me that it's not used. The gameplay ends up being very similar to Virtuoso, just spamming your clones to spend them as fast as possible, just like Virtuoso. And yeah, it has more to it, the utilities are better, the idea is better, but is that enough to put an S? I don't think so. It's not as original, it's cool, but that's it. And Chrono is just way better. The next one let's talk about is Scrapper, the first engineer elite spec, and this one is pretty good, I think. This is an engineer that has a little gyro behind you, and this gyro can be used for different things. You have the function gyro that can revive your allies around you. You have your surge gyro to do damage, the blast gyro to blast and do other effects, give some boons, blast, the combo fields, and that's the entire point of it. You put combo fields with your gyros and you explode them. That's why it actually goes with your hammer, because you can put combo fields like lightning and then blast them with your gyros. It's all about going in circles, even with your 2 on your hammer. That being said, hammer is no longer there for Scrapper, is for everything, so it ends up losing a little bit of its identity. You still play with it, but it's not the same. But don't get me wrong, I do think it's a very cool spec. You can change all of your traces to make your gyros do different things, and that's pretty cool. It's a very powerful spec as well. But after Hammer became a thing from every one of the elite specs, Scrapper just doesn't feel like the same. It doesn't feel like this, you know, only combo field and destroying everything with your combo fields thing. That being said, I think this kind of brought it, this relic here, the Bloodstone relic, kind of brought this back with this effect that's successfully comboing a field with a blast finisher does more damage. So now it kind of makes sense to bring the Scrap, and it brings that identity of destroying combos back, right? So I do think at the start I was actually gonna put this on B because, you know, Scrapper is not the same as before. But I think now, honestly, I think I'll put it on A because that identity is still there. It's just kind of hidden, and I really like that idea that they brought with the Scrapper of being this swirling engineer spec that can use his swirling to do good things for your allies or bad things for your enemies. Next is gonna be Holosmith, and Holosmith, guys, I'm sorry to say, but it's S+. The entire idea behind this is just insane. The fact that you have this forge to create like almost like holo printed, like 3D printed, but instead of it's a hologram, weapons and guns and the fields and what the fuck? It's crazy. It's so insane, and it works so well. Especially for the Azora, it's beautiful. It's great. It has so much utility. You can change it so much. Like, look at these traits, guys. You can. Because, like, here's the thing. You have, as you know, when you go into the Photon Forge, you got this little heat mechanic. The more attacks you use, the more the Holo Forge gets heated, right? But you can change the way that it gets heated, right? You can make it so whenever you dodge, you lose heat, so you don't get overheated. So you have to, like, from time to time, dodge out so that doesn't happen to you. You have this one that you want to actually get overheated because you have a special more than 100% overheat, and this way you can actually do more damage, but you don't want to get over the 100 whatever 50% that you get, because otherwise then you get overheated and it's like super bad for you. So you want to stay on this little spot. You also have this one That makes it so whenever you overheat, it actually does no damage to you. The penalty is lessened, and you can only lose the heat, the overheat, by actually getting overheated. So you take this, you want to get to the max, and then you go down. It changes all the whole mechanic on how you play the spec in three different ways. It's so cool. And this is only the Grandmasters. There's still other changes here to however you interact with all of your abilities and your 4-on-4 abilities. It's perfect design. Also, the utility is so cool. I mean, look at all this. Are you serious? Are you for real? You have a gun. What? This is some anime shit. The design here is perfect. It's beautiful. It's simple, but at the same time complex. Everything about it is perfect. S+, S+, S+. All I can say. And next we have the bad one of the engineer specs, Mechanist. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not horrible. The idea of having a mech to go around with you, attacking your enemies and giving you some boons, it's fun. The mech looks pretty awesome, but there's not that much to it. The AI is kind of weird, especially for something like heal. It's hard to work with it. It's not very good in anything but PvE. PvP and Warver's World, it just doesn't really work, as you can just kill the minion. In Warver's World, it's just a complete disaster. And if it ever works, it's because you one-shot your enemy, and that's about it. I think it would be a bit more different if the mech could actually be controlled correctly. This would be a bit more interesting, but that's just not the case. That being said, it does have some cool stuff. The fact that you can actually customize your F1, F2, and F3, which are the abilities from your mech, into different things, I think it's actually very, very cool. Not something that you would usually see in a simple spec like this. And I really appreciate that. You just can change them to whatever you want and all have different effects. Super nice. The utility, sadly, is just a signet. The actives are kind of okay, but they're not that much fun. I don't think it deserves something like Z or D. I think B is fine. It's fine. It's That's essentially what B is. Not horrible, not bad, just And I think that's fair for this. Now, let's go for the next one. Amalgam. And Amalgam, guys, NG just has great specs, guys. It's S+ again. It's like Holesmith, but like better. I wouldn't say better. It's honestly completely different. It's great. First of all, the idea of becoming one with this ooze to become metallic and use their powers, pretty awesome. The fact that you can actually customize the ooze to give you different effects, not only different attacks, but those attacks give you different effects to you, like lifesteal, like more defenses, like super speed, all this cool, more damage, right? Making your buffs that you would usually have do more, and you can share this to your allies as well and customize it. Do I want to do more damage? Do I want to have it more defensive? You can customize it however you want and take the negatives or positives that you want. It's crazy. It's absolutely great. It plays pretty simply, but it does have different types of playing. You have Evolve to cast twice, or you have Evolve to cast once, but instead you actually get your cooldown reduction from your morph abilities. All of that is like super awesome. It may be the most customizable spec in the entire game. If I were to take and say something bad about the spec, is the fact that some of the animations are like kind of bad, but it's like one. Everything else is just absolutely perfect. Even the, I don't know, it's just, I don't know what to say, guys. It's great. Like, that really, like, everybody loves it. I love it. You love it. You know you love it. You know you do it. Amalgam is S+. You don't even ask me. And I do think it's second to the first one. I think Firebrand is a little better, but I think it's definitely better than Holesmith. I have pretty big margin in terms of complexity. So yeah, another win for the new elite specs. We only have 2 left. Okay, Ranger, Druid, S+. You're gonna see that a lot of the things that we're gonna talk about in Ranger are gonna be very, very high up, and that's just because Ranger is very well designed. Because of the pets and all the different options that you have with them, it's very hard to not make a very interesting spec out of Ranger. And Druid, it's just very cool. The fact that you have your Celestial Avatar and all these abilities that work in a different manner to perfectly heal your allies is super, super cool. Your glyphs change too in the Celestial form, which is also awesome compared to the normal versions that you have normally. And the way that you can actually change your traits into different things to make this spec change in very cool manners. I think it's great. I think it really, they did the whole thing about Druid super well. There's not really anything else that I can say about this other than the idea of Druid, of being this Celestial Druid that heals your allies, and now you can actually do damage with it too. It's just very, very well done. I almost want to say it's only S, because it's like, it's exactly like Reaper, Berserker, Tempest, everything like this. It does what it does well, and there's nothing more to it compared to the S pluses that are super complicated. But I think it's just kind of hard to put an S plus. I think I'm gonna leave it on S, and I know some people are gonna get mad at me for this. I just think there's like this huge difference between like these specs that are super cool and awesome, and these ones who are like one step above. Maybe I'm crazy here, guys. Maybe I'm crazy, but I just, that's how I feel right now. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. It's just, yeah. Next is gonna be Soul Beast, and Soul Beast is S plus. And it's funny because it's essentially what Virtuoso did. It grabbed whatever it was part of the core mechanic of their class and deleted it. But in this case, they actually did it correctly, because instead of just getting rid of it, they transformed it into something else. They made you merge with your pet. So now you're a ranger without a pet, but the pet is inside of you. And this means that whatever type of pet you have, you will get a different ability to use. Also, merging the traits, the stats that this pet has with you. You can use your gazelle to have a lot of mobility, just like this. Or you can use your smoke scale to become stealthed, just like this. This was supposed to conceal me. Well, I guess you just get like Flicker Strike. Look, I don't play Ranger that much, okay? The point is you can pick all of these different pets to get different abilities from them and mismatch them in however way you want. The traits also change the way that you interact with this new effect to give you more damage, to make you so you can share your stances that you get with this spec to not only yourself but also to other people, like Luminary, like Amalgam. You also have this trait right here that makes you, if you get out of beast mode, you can actually get some benefit as well. I don't think you ever want to leave beast mode with this, but it's a cool idea. So yeah, it's absolutely incredible. The fact that this even exists, the fact that they grabbed what Ranger wants and transformed into something even cooler, great. Next, Untamed. And Untamed, I think it's S. I think it's S, not S plus as Soul Beast. This is like the anti-Soul Beast. Instead of becoming one your pet, now your pet gets enhanced, getting you this, like, well, this Unleash, this like special feral type of pet that can do special attacks. You can see this right here with your F1, F2, and F3. They're gonna do huge attacks. This doesn't really depend on the pet, and then you can just switch to your normal version where the pet just does its normal stuff. The cool thing is that now, when the pet is unleashed, they do these special attacks, right? But then when you get unleashed, then you have a special attack in your auto attack, which is very, very awesome type of effect. The utilities are also super green and kind of awesome in a very weird way. And I really like the gameplay of if you disable an enemy, you get different boons and stuff. Especially when you're trying to give quickness to your allies. You're gonna have to go and do your unleash as much as possible to it. So you have to be switching in between weapons, in between leash mode and unleash mode. It has a lot of cool stuff to it. It is not quite as interesting as Soul Beast, I don't think. It's still pretty awesome, and I really like the fact that all the weapons got their unleashed attacks as well. But I think we have to make a little bit of a difference. And for last one, Gunshot, and of course, guys, S+. I mean, this may be the favorite one of the entire community for the new elite specs. The animations, the fact that you actually want to go range on Ranger by actually giving them traits and utilities that benefit from you being in range and using range attacks. It's a simple idea, having a new longbow with wind attacks, but it's so well done, and actually being able to make it so all of the weapons that you play in Gunshot play in a different way, not pressing 5 on axe instead of pressing 4 on 3 and 2 just to have more range attacks. It's simple, but it just works. Just like Berserker, but a bit more complex, I think. It could have absolutely just been a shroud with a huge longbow, but it's just way more than that. The interaction with the aviary pets, all of this is just so awesome. it deserves to be on S+. I don't think it's higher than Soul Beast, even though I think Gale Shot is great. And honestly, it's the only spec that I actually like on Ranger, guys. I'm not a Ranger main at all. It's the least placed last in my account. I really don't enjoy Ranger because of the way weapons work. But Gale Shot, I'm playing Gale Shot. And it's kind of crazy that I put so many good things about... like, look, all Ranger, like S and S+. There's nothing else. And I just don't even play it. And for the last one, guys, the one we've all been waiting for. Thief. Now, Daredevil is super interesting. Because it's very simple. Just like every HOT spec, honestly. It's just Thief with dodges. Depending on how you dodge, you get different effects. The dodges actually change, which is super cool. And sometimes give you a buff while also doing some damage. And you can actually switch it up. You can make it so whenever you dodge, you get this bound attack that does damage when it goes to the floor and gives you a 50% damage buff. You can give it so it actually gives condis, and when you dodge, you do this little other attack, this little lotus dodge, and gives you condi damage instead. And you can do the dash instead and give you remove conditions. Isn't that awesome? Your whole dodge mechanic changes in different ways, and in a cool way, not like Vindicator. And not only that, but it gives you 3 dodges instead of 2. Isn't that awesome, guys? It doesn't feel like you're forced to just permanently dodge. Just dodge once, get your buff, and continue going your way. It also has this cool, like, monk-like abilities, like physical, like the Fist Flurry, that is, like, obviously, like, you know, kind of brawly. It's super cool, and you kind of want to use them as bursts, because you want to, like, dodge in, and then use your Assassin Signet to do more damage for just a period, and then use your Fist Flurry to just do as much damage as you can. The initiative mechanic is also pretty cool because obviously you want to burst a lot on Thief because you have initiative and you can press the same button that does the most amount of damage as much as possible. It's very good. It just has a little bit for everyone. It's a little bit of a disaster in competitive game modes, but that's just Thief. There's not really anything I can say about that. So I think overall Daredevil, he does a pretty good job. I think like every HOT spec right here. S is just the HOT place. Like, look at that. We have everything here. And Daredevil is gonna be here as well. Now let's talk about Deadeye. And Deadeye, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to put it on C tier. Deadeye has become the haha is the spec that you use pistol on. And that's it. You get a lot of initiative, you spend it all, and then you press Mercy to get all your initiative back. Because, let's be real, guys, rifle sucks. There's just nothing very cool about Deadeye. The whole idea is to use rifle, and now that rifle is not there, what's even the point? I'm sorry, I don't really see it. The idea of wanting to spend all of your initiative is cool, but it just doesn't play that way. In PvP and Warriors World, it's super annoying because Deadeye just go on stealth, one-shot you, and if they don't one-shot you, they just keep running forever. Not fun to play against. Honestly, I don't know why do you even play Deadeye? What's the fun in that? I don't even get it. The design is boring in PvP, it's boring in Warriors World, it's boring in PvE. Nothing about this is interesting. I just absolutely hate this spec. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's been good ever. I think people like the only reason why people play this now is because of something like pistol Deadeye, to be honest. I think the idea of giving you different abilities to steal is kind of cool, and the Condi build is kind of fun for this. I think the spear Deadeye build is a little bit interesting to have him, but that's because spear is interesting, not because Deadeye is interesting. So yeah, I don't know what to say, guys. Maybe I'm gonna start getting one shot in Warriors World now by every Deadeye ever. That's what's gonna end up happening to me, but like, dude, no, this is not good. It's honestly kind of surprising how they grab this cool sniper idea and just make it bad. I don't know. It is what it is, I guess. And the next one is Spectre, and Spectre is very cool. First of all, it's a pretty cool idea. A Spectre. What even is a Spectre? He has a special mask. It's just an edgy thief. Like that's what it is. But instead of just being edgy with some knives, it actually has some magic to it. Utilities become these wells, but these wells are different because this one teleports you just like a thief would do. Isn't that awesome? You also have this shroud, just like you would usually have in in Reaper, for example, in Necromancer, which makes sense for a Spectre. This necromantic type of thief that you use and give a lot of barrier with, give a lot of barrier to your allies, do some damage, good amount of stuff, and you have this cool, interesting idea that you tether an ally with your abilities. to give them a better effect. Now this is weird because this used to work very well. You had like an actual tether to your allies and you would like click on them and all the heal would go to them particularly. And you can still do it. You can auto attack your allies to get them barrier over and over again, which is very cool. And you can use all your abilities to do this as well. Mostly on Scepter, which is the spec, the thing that we used that came with the spec, which I guess it doesn't really count that much, but it's the only place you actually use that anyways. But there you go. You can transform yourself. You can pull a tether to your ally, and depending on that ally, your abilities will give them more healing if you really want to. Now this is a very hard thing to actually, you know, use, particularly on PvE, but in PvP and World it's a pretty cool effect that changes the way that you play. All this really makes me want to put Spectre in S+, because it's such an interesting concept, so different than anything else. But I think I have to put it on S, mainly because even though it's a very interesting concept and it works in a lot of ways, you have the Shadow Step utilities that are wells at the same time. You have the tether that changes the way that you want to heal your allies, but at the same time you have AoE. You have like, it's pretty cool, but it doesn't really work too well in Guild Wars 2 because of how the game works. Because of having so many people in your field of vision, of not having good tap targeting with allies, of not being able to click on them with a good UI, it's very difficult to single out someone. So I think it's very a very good spec. But it would need a little bit more to actually make it into the perfect status that S+ is. And for the one that we've all been waiting for, Antiquary. And Antiquary has a special place in my heart because I love Antiquary. I absolutely love it. I had so much fun with it. It was the most exciting spec for me to play. I love the entire concept of being RNG. I like the goofiness of it. I really, really like it. But it has a lot of issues. Yes, the effects are super cool. Yes, the way that your trades work are very cool, and you can get different ways of playing the spec with all the traits. You can make it so your double edges don't punish you, so you want to use your utilities at all time. You can make it so you want to steal a lot. You can make it so the more initiative you get, the more of these effects you get. So the faster you have to go to do the most amount of damage. All of these are very, very cool concepts. But because the artifacts are a bit clunky, because they're not that useful, because of all these issues, it ends up not being very fun. Especially because in Warver's World and PvP, it just doesn't work very well. There's only a PvE spec. All these things makes it super hard for me to put it in a high place. I want to put it in S+. I do, but no, I can't. It just requires way more work right now, way less RNG, way less clunkiness, way more polish for it to actually be higher. It needs to just be fun, needs some improvements, just not quite there. I think honestly I will probably put it very high up in A. I think this is correct. But I think this is gonna be my tier list for each of the elite specs overall. I think this is pretty fair tier list, guys. I know people are gonna meme me on the whole luminary thing. I get it. But I will stand by it. But look, guys, I think Guild Wars 2 has a lot of good specs, guys. Like, look at this. S is the most popular one. S+ and A has a lot of them too. And look at the amount that we have of each of the new elite specs, right? You have how many in S+? You have 1, 2 in S+, only one in S? Okay, 1 in S of the new elite specs. 1, 2, 3 in A for the new elite specs. And only 2 in B and only 1 in D. This is pretty good. I think it's very, very good compared to all of the other elite specs. We are doing well in this new expansion in terms of the design, I think. Even compared to something that we had before. It's above average. I can definitely say that. And I really believe that we are gonna make Paragon and Evoker into an A, S, or maybe even S+. The only one that I'm scared about is really Conduit. This one, I think it's gonna, at the minimum, be a B. Hopefully an S. We'll have to see. And we'll definitely make another one of these at the, whenever this actually launches on October 31st. So, of course, this is all my opinions, is subjective, but I'm very curious to see what you guys think. Of course, leave a comment down below if you want to tell me. I've created another live poll so you can actually put your elite specs wherever you want, and we can maybe make a video at the end, you know, looking at this. I already have this one for the new elite specs, as you can see right here, which I think it's this is what I would have expected. Man, Evoker S, interesting. So definitely go vote for this one as well. Is my in my other video, of course, about the new elite specs, and maybe at the end of these votes we can get in here and compare both results. But there you go. Let me know what you guys think. Tell me if you think I'm insane and why you think I'm insane. And yeah, see you guys around. Love you all. Go to my Ko-Fi. If you want to support my content, go to my Twitch to watch me live every morning. Thank you. See you guys around. Love you all. Ciao, ciao.